Dr. Simko here with another video about the brain. We're looking at the right, left, front, back of the brain and its implications for how we view ourselves and society and all that kind of stuff. So enjoy.
Okay, the right, left, front, back brain and how it all comes together and works. So there's a term we need to define called hemisphericity. Hemisphericity is a theory that functional neurologists have developed that basically suggests that the brain is composed of two sides, the right side and the left side. Each side has its likes and dislikes, its own unique functions. For instance, one of the functions of the left side is to help run the right leg and arm, and the right side to help run the left leg and arm. So they sort of switch over. That is, we're going to talk more about this in a few moments, but hemisphericity is a theory that functional neurologists use to help treat individuals. So we must also talk about the front half and the back half of the brain. The front half of the brain is the thinking and the personality part, your frontal lobes. The back half is the physical part of the brain, also vision, space, just how you relate to space. That's the back half of the brain. So before we get any deeper into the roles, it is important to understand how the brain develops over time and as we age. The human brain begins forming very early in the mother's womb, just three weeks after conception. However, the brain development is a lifelong process. Not only does it develop as a baby, but we are still developing our brain as we age. And the brain is shaped by inputs that the child gets in the womb and that we get in adulthood. So inputs impact your brain. So at birth, a baby has more nerve cells and synapses than it will use as an adult. So your brain is packed full of nerves and synapses that you don't really need as you get older. And there's a reason for this, is that the baby's experiences with its parents and its social situations and physical environment help to reduce the number of synapses and nerve cells to about 50%. So 50% is sort of, I would say, killed off. That's what they usually say. And believe it or not, this actually makes the brain stronger and more efficient. So in other words, babies wet themselves. As they get older, the brain can actually run things more efficiently so the baby can control themselves a little bit more. Same thing with pooping. I know that wasn't a very exciting analogy or term, but anyway. So it's important for the baby to have a rich and varied experience in life and good experiences. In other words, loving, caring, social situations, nothing that's violent, nothing that is stressful for the child, so that their brain develops as best as possible. So the brain can pick the right and wrong cells to keep and kill off if it gets good information. Now here's where hemisphericity comes in. You see, when the child is from birth to 3 years, the right brain is dominant in its development. And what's interesting and very important is that the right brain is all about social skills, also about nonverbal communication. In other words, how the eyes look, how the face look, the smile, the frown, the angry face, all comes to the right brain. Your child or a child learns that from birth up to 3 years. So it's very important that the right brain has all the input it needs to become healthy. And normally, this is just doing crafty things, social skills, just being with mom and dad, hugging, touch, all that type of stuff actually helps the right brain develop. Also being physical, walking, running around, all that is important for the child to do in order for the brain to become healthy, particularly the right brain. Now, after the first 3 years of life, there's development of voluntary movement. In other words, the child is able to control their walking, control their arm movement. Also, they can be reasonable, and they can perceive things at the age of 3. the frontal lobes become more active in the process of developing emotions. However, at this time, the back half of the brain is still more dominant in terms of its development as well as the right side. So attachments, planning, working memory, and perception are all starting to come online for a child of 3. Now, the child starts to become more aware of themselves. At this point, life experiences start to shape their emotional well-being. In other words, if good things happen to them, they're going to be happy. If bad things happen to them, they're not going to be happy, and they're going to be emotionally crippled as they get older. By age 6, only 6 years, the brain has reached 95% of its adult weight. So it has actually killed off a lot of the brain cells that are not needed and has developed its patterns already by the age of 6. And its peak energy of consumption is occurring. The brain, as we know in earlier videos, is one of the most energy dependent parts of our body. And at the age of 6, it's using about as much energy as it will use an adult. Now that last 5% is actually pretty important because it's all frontal lobe. The brain is still working on selecting nerves to live and die in our teenage years, and connections are beginning to solidify and made more efficient. That's how your brain works. Now, the last to fully develop is the front half of your brain, or the frontal lobes. This involves control of impulses and decision making. Thus, you have the teenage brain. The teenager is not really good at making great decisions and are not really good at keeping themselves under control. So there's a reason your teenager is the way they are. So just as a review, let's say that the back half of the brain develops before the front, and the right side in right-handed individuals, and we'll talk about that later in other videos, develops before the left half. Now this is how the brain has developed for millions of years, and it likes it this way. So the right brain, just to divide things, now we're into what the right brain likes and what the left brain likes, is that the right brain sees the forest before the trees. In other words, it looks at the big picture. It's intuitive. The right brain is also very physical. It likes physical things. And the right brain can decipher the meaning of things. It's also very important for nonverbal communication. Now, it is important when you communicate with individuals that you see their face. Your brain can understand what the meaning is behind the words if they see the face. Now, that's what's interesting about emails and how inflammatory emails can be, because you cannot see the individual's face when they write something that you think is scathing. And it may not be. They may be laughing or smiling when they're writing it. But you don't know that. The right brain also is empathetic. And of course, it's also a social part of your brain. It likes social situations. It's also very important for spatial perception, how a room looks, how you navigate yourself through space. It's also important for imagination. That's where the artistic side, you've heard that the right brain is the artistic side of your brain. It's also impetuous, but it also can control its impulses. So it says it thinks before it leaps, in other words. It's also called the right brain by functional neurologists. It's called the brake pedal. It is philosophical and spiritual. It is carefree and likes new things. It likes to be challenged with thinking about new situations. And it's good with symbols, objects, and images. Again, the artistic side. It likes slow tempo music. It likes nature sounds. And it also likes Mozart. And it loves being outdoors. It loves nature. It likes seeing trees. It likes seeing the natural world. That's what the right brain enjoys. Now, the left brain is all about the detail. What is inside of things? In other words, looking at the forest, what do the trees look like individually? Are there rocks there? Are there bushes? Whatever. That's what the left brain likes. So it gets things done. It actually starts things. It gets you going. It is impulsive in terms of not controlling verbal outbursts or actions. It doesn't think before it leaps. And it does not like change. It's a very routine-oriented part of your brain. It likes fast-paced music and information. So in other words, when you're looking at a news station, you see that ticker tape on the bottom. The left brain likes seeing that. It actually stimulates the left brain. Math and science rule for the left brain. It's very linear, very structured. It likes to start new projects, get it going, but it does not like unique situations. Things need to be the same for the left brain. And of course, the left brain, it houses in right-handed individuals your speaking center, your verbal center. It can understand words, understand what meanings are of words. So you see, there is a difference. And if one side is dominant, the implications are that there will be an imbalance in your brain, and you might actually have a different personality than you would normally have. And you might like things and dislike things that you normally wouldn't like or dislike. So let's take a look at what happens when one side is dominant or another. So if a left brain is dominant, an individual can be verbally abusive and not care about feelings. You just don't really care about what other people think or feel. Obsessive compulsive disorder is a left brain dominant problem. You can never be able to concentrate on finishing a task. You can start tasks, but you can never finish them. So, and you're also very critical of others. An individual with a left brain dominant can be very critical of others, very antisocial, and never wanting to meet new people or go to new places. Never wanting to try something new. That is pretty much a left brain dominant consequences. Now, a right brain dominant, individual cries easily. They take unwise risks, makes unwise decisions, or pursues harmful relationships. Also exposes themselves to harmful situations, both physical and financial, and can't start tasks, don't want to get going. So you see, an imbalance is not only bad for our brain, but it is also bad for us. So let's talk about the modern lifestyle, which actually causes a brain imbalance. If you're doing one thing over and over that your one side of the brain likes as opposed to the other, you're going to develop that one side to the point where it is dominant. And unfortunately, our Western lifestyle stimulates only one part of our brain more than the other, and that actually is the left brain. So unless you're an active individual or have a physical job, it's not very positive for your brain health to just stimulate one side. So we have to bring our brain back into balance. And what are some of the things you can do? And we're going to go through. So let's talk about what you might have. So you're going to diagnose yourself or a loved one by these things. So if you know an individual or yourself, you're overly judgmental, you like to be isolated, you like to do things by yourself, you're always staying home or in a room, you're compulsive about things, always checking the mail, making sure the door is locked, all that type of stuff. You're quick to anger. Things bother you right away. You don't like waiting in line, you don't like the way someone's driving, whatever. You're always starting tasks, but you're never finishing them. So there's a pile of tasks on your table, and you never get to finish them. You're expressionless. You really don't have much humor. You don't cry. You don't feel angry. You're just sort of flat. You're not willing to try new things, and you cannot make eye contact. So if you have, 3 or 4 or more of those things, you might be left brain dominant. So what can so let's look at what might be a right brain dominant person. If you're an individual that takes too many risks, or you're financially unstable, always losing money, always doing crazy things with your money that are risky, you're always in unstable relationships, never working out, you're unable to start tasks or get going, you're overly trusting of individuals that take advantage of you. You're overly emotional or quick to cry, and you're also slow to start. If you're any one of these 4 or 5, you could have a problem. So what can you do about these imbalances? So the only way you're going to get things back into balance is if you actually do exercises that help the one side get stronger. It doesn't help to weaken the dominant side. It only helps to strengthen the weakened side. So if you're left brain dominant, what you want to do is you want to take time for your life and listen to nature sounds or Mozart in the left ear. You want to look at as much green and outdoor nature as possible. You see, the right brain likes to see nature because it is not only the spatial relationships of nature, things that are close and things that are far, but it's also the color. Green happens to be one of the most amazing colors and stimulates the right brain because you can distinguish more shades of green than any other color. You want to be outside for at least 20 to 30 minutes a day. Be in the sun. You want to go for a walk at dusk. Now, dusk is a very interesting time for your brain because everything is muted. So if things are muted, you're not seeing detail. And again, not seeing detail helps to excite the right brain. Periodically rearrange your room. My wife just rearranged our room the other day, and it made me feel happy, which is kind of interesting. You go to work or home a different way occasionally. So find a different path to go to work or to the grocery store or to the corner store, whatever. You're just doing something different. Look at unfamiliar faces in a magazine or a book or in a mall. You want to look at people. People watching is awesome for your brain, especially if people you've never seen before. Do the memory game. And you can look that up online. But if you have questions about that, please leave a comment below and I'll help you figure out how to do the memory game. It's very easy. Now, what can you do about a right brain dominant? Well, right brain dominance is actually kind of rare in our society because we're such a left brain society. But if you are right brain dominant, it's easy to strengthen your left brain. You want to look at a forest and try to pick out individual trees. So in other words, try to pick out detail, right? Oh, is there a rock there? What kind of tree is that as opposed to the other trees? You want to listen to fast-paced music. Fast-paced music can be punk or rock or anything like that in what? The right ear, because the right ear will stimulate the left lobe. The left ear will stimulate the right lobe. Playing computer games will also stimulate the left brain. Doing crossword puzzles or Sudoku. Where's Waldo? Again, looking for things inside of things. As we know, we live in a left brain world, so driving your car is actually a left brain activity. Watching TV as well. You know, I set that ticker tape underneath the news station. Trying to follow that and reading that as it goes by is a left brain activity.
So there you have it. We're going to get more specific about the young child's brain and the teenage brain in other videos, but this was just an overview and to sort of give you some helpful hints on how to balance your brain out. Have a great day.